All right, guys, we are back for another episode of Cats coverage hosted on the Field of 68 network. I'm Trace, and I've got Michael Epps right here, and we are out without Tim tonight. He is busy doing some things. We let him, give him a break once in a while. Tim works his ass off, and I know we all three work our ass off, but Tim, he don't get a lot of credit for all the stuff that he does. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes, and some of that stuff doesn't get the credit it deserves. And so Tim's got the night off, and he threw on us to have the Zoom recording, so we'll hope we don't mess this up. Michael, how you doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. I was just at the game last night, which we'll talk about. I'll be at the game Saturday. Big one, Cats and Balls, part one. So that's a big one too.
Yeah. So last time we got to talk with you all, it was following the South Carolina loss, and that was kind of the first rude awakening of this team better get their of defense in order, or they may not go as far as everybody projected them to. Last time we spoke was right after that game. We haven't got to talk about the Arkansas win on the road or the Florida loss that happened just last night. So let's it feels like it was a million years now. So much happens in every single game. It's kind of hard to remember everything. But going back, Kentucky, they played at Arkansas down in Fayetteville, home of Antonio Reeves. He kind of goes off down there every single time. He's a killer. It's something about that red. I'm not sure. Um, but Kentucky won 63 to 57 over Eric Musselman and his Razorbacks. And man, my biggest memory from that game is just how awful, how cold of shooting this game started off at. Well, I guess my first memory I'd go back is I did not make the trip to Fayetteville. I think we both talked about that last week. I was watching the game from home, and I got to miss the first 9 minutes of the game on TV because Duke decided to go late with who I don't even remember who it was now. Um,
Clemson.
Clemson, yeah, and I was sitting there, I'm like, man, if you're gonna make me miss the Kentucky game to watch anybody, this is about the last team I want to watch. So I remember I got to miss almost a quarter of the game pretty much, but I was keeping up with the stats online, and it was awful shooting. I didn't miss a whole lot. There was no offense, just both teams missing, and yeah, that was it. And then I think there was like 11 minutes left to go in the first half, and I just remember Arkansas had the lead the entire first half. They went into halftime with the lead. And my memory from that is Kentucky didn't really get their offense truly thriving until about the last 2 minutes when they've kind of buckled up and extended their lead to get the win down at Fayetteville. Michael, I know it feels like it's a long time ago, but what's your kind of memories from the Arkansas win? It was another conference win on the road finally.
Yeah, we were talking about the South Carolina game. And we were just like, they were due. They were due for a bad offensive game. Scoring 90 and all these 87, and then they struggled to score the basketball at South Carolina. The Gamecocks were just physical. And Arkansas did the same thing. Arkansas is not as good of a team, obviously, as South Carolina or Florida, really. But I thought it was impressive that they responded responded to some adversity. Obviously, Antonio was fantastic. Scoring at all three levels, like we always say. I was impressed with Reed to, finally break through, and then Cal has the quote after the game, like, oh, Reed said, hey, just stick with me.
Yeah.
And, Cal's, in some situations might not have done that, but he did stick with him and he showed up with some big plays, really got some confidence going and then hits that three late. Um, so I think it's impressive that they just got that road win, but it's hard to be too positive when you think about how ugly it was um, offensively, and then they come out and score 90 plus to Florida, but then they lose. Then the defense goes away. So they got the state stops late in the game. Arkansas barely scored for what? I mean, the last like 2 minutes really. Like they didn't really get many buckets, and the getting the stops late was pretty impressive. So they're gonna need to do more of that.
Yeah, it was really good to see Kentucky get a win on the road in conference. They extended their streak to 4-0 following a loss this season. So thankfully, they're not hitting back-to-back losses and letting the state of Kentucky fall completely apart after that. We all know how that'll go. Um, But yeah, I mean, the offense was just not, they rely so heavily on their high scoring offense, and the defense kind of gets, you can hide it when you're scoring a lot of points. But right before the game, they announced Rob Dillingham. He had showed up for shoot around, and Cal said he rolled him out right then and there. Well, he gave him the chance to play. He's like, Coach, I can't go in. I'm not filling up for the game tonight. I think he had a stomach virus. I think that's what they said it as. And then, we also got thrown at us as Justin Edwards with his leg injury from the scrimmage. And so he didn't start, and Adu started in place for him. And Justin Edwards still played quite a bit of time. I don't know how the leg must not be that bad, but Cal kind of took him out of the starting lineup for that. So I think, if you don't have Rob Dillingham on the road when, just like we saw at South Carolina the game before, when they had no offense, they were giving it to Dillingham, letting him, relying on him to get some buckets at will. And so you did not have that down in Arkansas. So that kind of, you kind of expect the offense to drop off quite a bit there. Aaron Bradshaw got foul trouble again. It seamlessly feels like all these road conference games, especially I can remember just at Florida was where it started. Aaron Bradshaw again not handling foul trouble correctly, not managing it very well, and then it takes him out of the game pretty much as he's a non-factor. So I mean, thankfully, well, you expect the offense to be dead after all those things, but thankfully they played their best defensive performance all season long. Got to be one of their best ones, and they held Arkansas to I forget what they finished with the points. I think it was got it right here. 57 points. So like that had to be one of their season lows, if not the lowest. We only had 63, but our defense finally showed up. We've been expecting them to do that all year long. So I mean,
Yeah, Edwards only played 9 minutes, and Adu only played 12. I forget that Adu went 0 for 5. Yeah, he missed like those three, wasn't it? He missed like three layups in a row, I think. So he really 5 shots. It didn't really feel like 5 shots. It was really only kind of like 3 shots that he took in the game. But good to see him get back out there. 6 boards. Um, but yeah, something with Edwards, man. I don't know, especially if Adu keeps playing well. It's just the minutes are just gonna keep getting, smaller and smaller for Edwards, which we've talked about for weeks, and it's tough to see it. But the same thing's about to happen with Aaron, to get in this not just foul trouble, but even when he's not in foul trouble, even when he's out there, he's just not really doing much. And, I like him a lot. I've talked to him multiple times this year. He's a good dude and great with the media, and he's a talented player, but it just still feels like he's either behind or his physicality just isn't quite there. He's got to get better with box outs, just grab more boards. And I'd like to see them, give him a couple touches, maybe just, see what kind of post moves he has. I watch him in warm ups. His mid range is deadly. Like, let him shoot a couple. Oscar would shoot a few mid range jumpers, last year. I'd like to see some of those because at this point, I don't really know where Aaron's offense comes from. And yeah, not everybody has to score the basketball, but you want Aaron to score some points, right? For him to just keep getting zeros is a little concerning. So, especially with Ugo playing well, then that's kind of, you know, tapering down what Bradshaw is giving you, which is really surprising to see Bradshaw and Edwards 2 5 stars. If you said that at the start of the year that they're going to be zeros right now, that's
yeah.
you wouldn't believe them.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up. I had that same thought this today. I was actually on during lunch. If you would have told me this off season about, well, I had the thought about Aaron Bradshaw, not both of them together, but if you said that Aaron Bradshaw, if this offseason you would have said that there would be a point in the season where Ugo starts over Aaron Bradshaw, I'd be like, what went wrong? Something had to go bad. He must have been injured. Well, I mean, there's no way that happens. And I have on my notes right here from the Arkansas game. I wrote this down right after the game. It said Ugo's best game of the season. Little did I know, the very next game he had followed up with almost a near triple double. Right after that game, Cal said, "You know what? After the Arkansas game, he's like, I might need to start Aaron Bradshaw next game, or I'm sorry, I might need to start Ugo next game in front of Aaron Bradshaw and take some of his minutes. Not like a punishment thing at all. It's just Ugo's playing well, and he wants to reward him. And for him to show up and not to jump too early to Florida, but he had a near triple double in his first starting experience and had his first career double double. I don't know. We're getting exciting things from Ugo, but it is very concerning when two of your starters, two of your projected top freshmen, and honestly, two out of your three projected top picks in the NBA draft this year, this coming out of the summer was Justin Edwards, Aaron Bradshaw, and I think with Aaron Bradshaw, I think it is his physicality. I think that's what we can definitely pinpoint it on because it is kind of a mystery to me. But like, he's real skinny. He's got the length, he can shoot, but he's not good at managing his fouls. He keeps getting all these over the backs because he's so tall, taller than most people he goes against, and he needs to be a little bit heavier. Not that that's the worst thing in the world, but like we're not getting what we expected from our five-star center, starting center. Um, and our starting small forward. We're having to rely on these other guys who are just fine, but like when you're relying on you have these five-star freshmen to be the best players on the team, and then you have these transfers and these backup players who weren't starting at all take your spot. Like it is concerning. Like we've got a lot of issues with this team, and their ceiling is one of the best in the country, but like there's a lot of issues that have been hidden all year long. And I think when you lose and when things start falling apart and not sticking to the script anymore, I think you need to start addressing those because I mean, they've lost what, 4 games now, 4 or 5. I get them on. I think it's five games now in 20 attempts. So like, you can only have so many losses throughout the year before you want to, you start losing where you projected to go in the NCAA tournament. Now you've got to win games that you probably could have took a risk on later on in the year. Like you've got to start winning games now. And they're 3-3 in their last 6 games, and like that's a problem. That's a problem, especially with all the talent on this team. I'm just a little concerned. I really am.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about Aaron, but we've seen some flashes like the end of that Florida game down in Gainesville. The Penn game. I'm trying to think that I think there was another big one he had.
Uh,
I don't think he did much at Louisville. Was it the Illinois State game maybe? Um,
was yeah.
there was another game where he had a good game. So I'm not too concerned about him. I think he'll get his, but I mean, Ugo was fantastic in his start. I mean, he was the man. 16 boards, 9 offensive, uh, and 13 points, 8 blocks. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like at that point, like Aaron not playing well is not why he lost the game because Ugo was just fine. Um, and especially, rim protecting. He got beat on a couple rebounds, but I think, him blocking 8 shots, there's really not much to say about that. Trey didn't have the best game, obviously, 2 for 10, 5 points. I'm just trying to figure it out, man, because, really if Rob hits the free throw, it's a win. So you can't like think about it too much. Like, yeah, they blew the game. But if Rob just hits that free throw, then they win the game. So it's not the end of the world, but there are problems there where they're not getting those late game stops. They did at Arkansas, and that was it. They didn't at South Carolina, really, for that whole second half, they weren't getting stops. And, obviously in this game, they weren't too, but especially late, like they're up 4, and me and Hallie from ABC were shooting the game, and I was just like, you got to dump it down to number 4. What's his face? Samuel. Like that dude was eating. And I mean, any big that you threw at him, he was the man in the paint, especially on Trey. Obviously, Clayton hits the three, but to tie it. But Samuel, he was a dog, and you have opportunities to get stops. They just got to get tougher defensively, man. They got to get more physical. Can't be afraid to pick up fouls because fouls are just going to happen. I think if they play more aggressively, I think it'll translate. I think they have it in them because we saw it in Arkansas, but we really haven't seen it a lot this year. So I'm just wondering, like, all right, do you just have to pencil this team in for like giving up 80 points, like in almost every game? Like, do you have to score 90 to win? And even here, 90 wasn't enough, but like, do you have to score 90 to win? At that point, you're not a title team if that's the case. You're
Yeah.
not going to win a national championship if you can't hold teams to under 80 points and they're giving up 83 points in SEC play. It's just too much. You're not going to win a championship. So I think there's still an opportunity to figure it out because there's still a lot of ball left. But yeah, the concerns are there overall for the team. For this Florida game, I'm like, it could have been a win.
Yeah.
Rob makes a free throw and it's a
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, if you got to find a way to close out these games, especially with the going on into the Florida game. Most of the time when Kentucky's in that situation, it always feels like they're down two or four and they're just scoring just to stay within down two, just trying to stay up to the team. This one they had the lead and it was Florida doing that for once. I noticed that because that's not normally how it goes for Kentucky. This one they had the lead and Florida just kept scoring, keeping it close, keeping it close. And I looked at I rewatched the last part of the game and the overtime today, and in regulation, Kentucky was up four with 13 seconds left or 15 seconds, something like that. I mean, and then Florida comes down, they hits that layup, Rob does misses the free throw, et cetera, and then it goes to overtime. But like you've got to close out these games. It's like I know these are little mistakes, and it's like if Rob doesn't if it's his free throw, if Reed was guarding this guy, but like all these little things, you still lost the game. Like if you just even though it's just a little mistake, it still cost you an L. Um, so I don't know. I mean, over the last few years, I've definitely felt like when Kentucky goes down to the wire, I'm not confident in them anymore. And I know it's different teams, different makeups, different realities, but like I wasn't confident in that one either. I just had a feeling Kentucky was going to lose it, even with the lead. And you know, back to your point that you just mentioned a minute ago, it's like Kentucky was fresh off a 62-point game and they came out and dropped 90 tonight without DJ or 90 against Florida without DJ Wagner. It's like the inconsistency will get you beat. You've got to be consistently good, especially when it comes tournament time. If you're going to give up all these points, you're just gambling on that the other team will go cold because if they're on normal pace or hot, which most of the time they are hot, you better hope you score 90 or you're getting beat. And like that's not the success to go on a run in the tournament. And this team's got if not, he's got one of the most talented teams in the country, if not maybe the most talented when everything's clicking. But when you're gambling on all that clicking each time, I'm not confident that they'll go far. And if they don't figure out this defensive issue, if I was John Calipari, I would spend, your offense is there. You really don't have to work on that a whole lot right now. It's not your priority. I would strictly go and practice and work on defense and make it a priority to become good at defense because that's what's getting you beat in all these games, the defense. And what's the point in going out there and scoring 90 if you're gonna get up 82? I mean, I don't know, man. That's my thing with this team right now. You've got to get this defense in place. You've got to figure out what works. Who can guard who's your best defender? I mean, put your teams out there and hold them to points and then come with a hot spurt of offense. I don't know what the answers are for that, but like somebody's got to figure that out, especially if you want to have success in a postseason that means a lot for this under John Calipari, one of the biggest ones of his career. Because you want to go out with another title, you don't want to go into another offseason of another fourth failure of a postseason in a row. Like, honestly, last postseason, there was a lot of like pinpoint like needs to be it. And they get past the first round, okay, they're finally showing up and they lose in the second round. Now it's even more pressure. It's overflowing pressure to be this postseason for something to happen.
Yeah, the pressure's there, but it's not they don't care and Cal doesn't care. But
But these fans,
that's what I huh?
but these fans do like crazy.
Yeah. Of course, as they should, but yeah, if I told you before, if they lose in the first round again, first weekend, Cal might be done. I mean, this might be it.
Yeah.
Either he steps away or whatever. I doubt that. I still think they can go far, but they got to shore up defense because that's what they say: defense and rebounding travels in March. And they're not a great rebounding team. They're good. They've getting better, not giving up as many offensive rebounds, but still a lot. 15 is a lot. Or no, they only gave up 7, which is good, but they got out rebounded overall. No, they did. Yeah, 7 offensive rebounds. Um, for 8, 9, 10. No, yeah, and so I think they'll get that going. I'm a little concerned about some of these pieces because Reed obviously is a big time player. For him to play all 45 was impressive.
Yeah.
To be the most like comfortable guy out there. Was impressive. 45 minutes, man. And Antonio, we know what he can do. So I feel like the best five, when they're clicking, can beat anybody.
Oh, I do.
But I just want to see more. I mean, at some point, we collectively, like, as a group of observers of basketball, like, at some point, we just got to be real and just be like, if this team's given up this many points game in and game out, it's just not going to happen. But there's still time to change it, and they're going to wake up with this Tennessee game. Uh, I I sure hope for their sake that DJ plays.
Yeah.
You really don't need Justin Edwards to play, really. I mean, you can win this game. You can win any game without him, because the do will step it up. I like the do in this game against Florida. I think he's comfortable. I watched him in warm-ups. He was just sweating bullets. I mean, he was warming up for a while. So he can slide in there. You need DJ. Just his impromptu offense is huge. He's good defensively too. He's a good perimeter guard. Rob is going to get you buckets. Um, we know Z is just he's kind of out of it. He's just not really there physically. That Georgia game was awesome, great memory, but it's just, especially if Ugo's playing well, you have to keep starting Ugo and then just bring in Bradshaw. And there's just really no minutes uh for Z.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they go from here, man. If they keep losing games, if you lose to Tennessee, and then you're going to beat Vandy easily, but then Gonzaga. Um, if you lose that one, they probably won't lose that. Gonzaga's not too great, but if they lose a few more games, then I would really start considering going back to that small ball lineup.
Mhm.
Really, because this is when, even though the competition was lower in non-conference play, they just looked their best, in my opinion. And I think I think you just try it out a little bit more. Just go with DJ Rob, Antonio Reed, and Trey, and just try it. Or throw Edwards in there if he wakes up. But just try it, man, because it's hard to not use 7 footers when you have them. You have three of them. It's kind of hard to reason not using them, but at least just try it out, man, because that lineup was good, and that's when everybody in this fan base was feeling good, feeling happy, enjoying watching this team play. The team was having fun; you could see it, and they were smoking people. So, um, it's hard to win conference games when you're undersized, but I would try it a little bit. If they keep losing, then they got to change something.
Yeah, so something's got to change because you'll be just gambling the rest of the way. I would think with us having 3 7 footers, most teams don't even have one. You've got to find a way to use that to your advantage. If we're switching up and throwing different things out there and seeing what works, if you've got to bring in 2 7 footers, I know Cal said if he was to throw Z in there, he has to have another 7 footer with him because he didn't want to put him out there by himself. I mean, I understand that, but like that's going to limit your offense a little bit. But like if you can protect the paint and force these guys, force the opponents to shoot 3 pointers, I mean, that might be something different to throw out there. It's going to limit you on offense. But like if you've got a high scoring guy like DJ Wagner, Antonio Reeves, Rob Dillingham, you might be able to get something going temporarily. If teams are killing you down in the paint, switch it up. They've got to find out something. I don't know the answers of that. But, I think it's real telling that Rob Dillingham, did not play at Arkansas, was sick. And I think he came out with like 38 points against Florida. He got tightened up in his hamstring there and his thigh um, from being stiff from not playing the game before. And
38 minutes, yeah.
38 minutes. Okay. Yeah. And, he and think Reed Shepherd finished with 24 points. I'm fine with Reed Shepherd running the point, but like it's different. It's a drop off with that, from DJ Wagner. I think with DJ Wagner, you just got the comfort of doing it all season long. Kind of like the driver of the car. He's got this kind of like as a kid, your parents. I always felt like your parents just knew every answer to the world, and you get older, you realize they don't. But it's like I knew when they said DJ Wagner was out, and I was like, I immediately thought UNC Wilmington. It's like that was the last time we didn't have him. That was the main thing that game. I'm kind of afraid if we go forward and DJ Wagner's not our point guard again, and if that was to come for the Tennessee game, I'm not confident in us having a chance for that either. And Reed's a talented player, but like I don't think he's your point guard. I think he's your shooting guard. And when you've got to kind of roll with him, especially last minute, it's not the point guard that I would choose.
Yeah, I wonder if it 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 just didn't seem like the Edwards thing was super serious, but I mean, so it'd be huge if he could come in and give you a spark, because that's if you get both those guys back, obviously you're gonna have a good chance to win. But they need a spark from Edwards, man. I still think it's there. I'm not gonna give up on him, but he just kind of has to be a role player at this point. Um, and I think he has it in him. Um, I think this team could. I think you guys could shoot more threes. Um, I like the lethal mid range from Antonio and Reed. Man, his floaters were nice.
Oh,
He had a couple like follow throughs too, where he just held it. It's like, man, that dude's got some touch. But Rob chucks up a lot. He was 3 for 8 from three, but everyone else was pretty solid from three. So I think he just besides Trey, he was 0 for 5. Yeah, that's tough. But I would try shooting some more threes, even though you don't have a problem scoring. You get 90 points. So um, yeah, defense and rebounding, man. They have a big test. If they lose this one back to back games at home, then you really can be worried. But I still think it's a little early to panic. I think it's more of just accepting that this defense might not just get figured out, and all of a sudden they go down to allowing 68 points per game. It's like that. That's just probably not going to happen. We're more than 2/3 of the way through the season. They were giving up 70 plus and 80 plus in SEC play. Like I don't think that's magically getting a lot better. It just needs to get a little bit better. If they can get it to like 75, then that should be enough to win you games. You're still so good offensively that you just need a little bit. You just need some things to go your way, some less offensive boards, and I think you'll be fine.
I'm in the boat of I think our defense can get a little bit better. I think there's always room for improvement, especially if all five guys on the floor improve just 10%. But like, do I expect the defense to be solid at some point in time? No. So I think we do if we can sit here and start to plan forward of like, okay, our defense ain't gonna be the greatest. Hopefully we're not trash at defense anymore and not just garbage and we do okay at defense. Get a little bit better. But then, if that's the case, you have to focus on getting points early. And I think that, you've got to be aggressive. I think Cal needs to drop some plays where, you go to your strengths. Antonio Reeves is going to get you some jumpers. He's going to get you some three-pointers. Reed Shepard's pretty knocked down at the three-point line too. I think Cal needs, if you're going to go that route, Cal needs to get some plays in the book in their back pocket, ready to go, designated for players only. Set a pick up top, let DJ Wagner go to the rim, let the bigs crash. Work on threes where Reed Shepard's open at the plays where he's open at the 3-point line. Like get up some plays where you're not just out there and saying go create offense. Like have some designated plays for that. I wish that that's something they would do. And I know they do it a little bit, but like more aggressively. If you're gonna hope to hide your defense and gamble on your offense, that's something you might have to do. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I don't expect this defense to ever be satisfying, but I think hopefully they can get a little bit better, I would think, or else, you're gonna throw some losses onto the column again this year or the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I keep trying to search for ways to get better offensively, but it's just like this team. You're not. You don't really need it. You're shooting uh 44, 45% from the field. Like that's pretty
Who's
good. 10 threes.
I
I
think I
mean,
got kind of like you mentioned earlier. Go back to what you were doing in the beginning season of the season. Don't rely on Rob Dillingham to have 32 minutes a game. Bring him and Reed Shepard off the bench again and let them come that big boost of offense right off the bench. Give everybody a breather and then hop back out and then do it again over and over again. Right now we're at the point where Reed Shepard had to play 45 minutes. You're gassed a little bit. He handled it just fine, but like as a player, when you're gassed, your shooting tanks a little bit. Like everything's less of what you can be when you have obviously full breath. So if you can get DJ Wagner back as soon as possible, that gives Reed some more time to come in off the bench. He doesn't have to start and control the offense the entire night, and take Rob Dillingham back a little bit. I know he's putting up second most on your team. You need him out there, but like don't let him gas himself and go crazy and start forcing stuff. I think you go back to what worked in the first 10, 12 games. I know they were against less opponents, but like offense, it worked. I mean, if you can make a basket, you can make a basket, whether it's the best team in the world on defense or a nobody. Like the shots still got to go in. So if you're going to improve on offense, I think you go look at your best games that you had this year and see what the highlights of that were. I mean, I know Big Z's not going to have another Georgia game, but like if you can bring him out for 2, 3 minutes here and maybe create a 3-point shot for him or something, get him some post looks, like more spurts and not everybody being out there dog tired and then just, okay, I'm wore out. The only thing I can do is drive to the basket. Let's hope this goes in. More aggressive, more calculated, I guess is the word I'm looking for, and being precise at your offensive strives because, um, when these guys are out there playing so much and this rotation is getting shorter and shorter, I don't know how precise the offense is going to be. It's got to get better. It's got to be back to your nation leading 90 points a game. Can't drop off to 62 at Arkansas, and then hope your defense gets a little bit better. But I'm not too confident in that. You just got to try not to be trashed and be awful at defense as the season goes on. And
yeah, man, just Reed, struggled a little bit defensively. In that game too, he was getting cooked on a couple of those on Clayton, 7 threes, man. That's a lot. It's a
right.
lot for someone to put on your head. So I think he'll come back strong. Tennessee's got some scores, Dalton Connect and the guys. So big one, man. I think you guys are gonna be fine. It's just at the end of the day, it's still a young team. They're still, they prove that they can win in a late game situation with that Arkansas win, and they lose this one. It's a young team that's growing. I know you can't use that as an excuse anymore, but it's still true, and there's still time for them to, you know, get there, and I think they will. I think you guys are gonna be just fine. I know it's easy to panic, especially in the fan base. The worry is, did they peak already? And it's a fair question, and time will tell. But I don't think so. I think they have it in them.
Now that you bring that up, I kind of see you said you don't think that they have peaked. I kind of, now that you brought that up, I could see that, in my opinion, see a little bit different. I think that maybe they have. I mean, how much better can their offense get from what the best that we've seen from them? I think that I'm glad that's a good point. I think they maybe have, at least just going off, no really studying stats behind that, just off initial reaction. Um, Now, if you can
It's
find,
easy to say that. It's easy to say it just because they weren't losing and now they are losing. But when you look at it, they're still scoring a lot and they're still not defending. It's just now they're playing better teams where they're going to make you pay.
yeah,
Losing at home is the bigger concern because the UNCW and now this one, like you go back and look at all the Cal teams that play well at home and win at home go far. The ones that don't, like last year, they don't go far. The
yeah,
only exception was 2 years ago. That team went undefeated at home, I think. And then of course St. Peter's. It just happens. But most of the time when you're unbeatable at home, which we've seen Cal teams be, they go far. And this team has now lost two at home where they should have won. And
yeah,
now you got a top five team coming. Now this is time. If you lose this one, you're not unbeatable at home. And that's a sign that maybe they're not going to get it done because that's just trends, over the course of Cal's career.
yeah.
So, it's something to watch out for, but there's still so much ball left, still a whole month of the regular season. So Um, but this one on Saturday is big.
Yeah, well, we're seeing a lot of these things, kind of just like the home play that you're talking about right there. It's like the DNA isn't looking very good. There's a lot of not misleading. There's a lot of underlying stats that are surfacing game after game of like the good teams didn't do this, the good teams didn't do this. And man, 3 weeks ago, I was ready to roll with this team, and I'm still gonna roll with them. But like I was confident this team was finally gonna have a deep run, and I think they still can. I'm not throwing it out, but like a lot's happened in these last 3 weeks. They've got 3 losses to add to that in the last 3 weeks. Um, you know, I don't know. Let's go ahead and get to this ad break real quickly, and I'm going to kind of gather my thoughts on the other side of it, and then kind of see what I expect this team doing on the other side of the break. So we'll be right back.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers of the Field of 68 each and every week of the college basketball season. We have a special offer that will be available starting on Tuesday, January 9th, and running through Monday, February 12th, the morning after Super Bowl 58. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, in honor of the big game, you can use the bonus code FIELD158 and you'll get $158 in free bets on your first wager with BetMGM, regardless of whether or not you win that first bet. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD158. Deposit at least $5 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive $158 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD158 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly, which happens quite a bit. When you cross state borders, you just log into your existing account and fire away. You don't have to create separate accounts in each state. It's easy, it's simple, it's clean. And most importantly, we have some fun stuff coming up for the heart of the college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odd boosts, and my favorite, a nice juicy parlay boost. So download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Field 158.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for staying on the other side of that break. I've got myself, Trace, and Michael. How you doing, Michael?
Solid, man.
That break. Yeah, it is getting pretty late. We were just talking about how late that game. They didn't start till 8 o'clock last night, and we kind of sat through a overtime loss. It's up late last night. I'm sure you were too, doing some post game coverage. And I know tonight I'm gonna be like an old man. I'm getting my sleep tonight. um,
Yeah. I'm ready for this game Saturday, man.
yeah. After Friday morning, I'll be ready for it. Number 5 Tennessee's coming to Lexington. I saw a stat earlier today. It said Tennessee and Kentucky are 11-11 in the last 22 times they've played each other. Coming quite the battle. And Rick Barnes has been one of those coaches that's had John Calipari's name over the last few years. We saw that Tata and Oscar team go down there and win a game when down there when we didn't expect them to win it. We've saw a lot. It's kind of like um, the back and forth between these two programs haven't gone as usually expected. It's like Kentucky stole some, Tennessee stole some. I know we had a big time win. I think it was the day after Joby Hall died, or maybe the day of. I remember that game was exciting. I think Kellen Grady, that was that year with Kellen Grady. But Tennessee's it's gonna be a challenge. They've been in the top 10 all year long. Their losses have been to some pretty decent teams. Um, I don't think I'm going to go on the record yet and quite frankly pick a winner or loss for Kentucky. I don't know. How are you feeling about that game? Just some early projections. Are you confident to say one way or the other? Are you kind of still kind of in the air like I am?
Yeah, I think the Cats will win. They've they've looked good in bounce back games. Besides Arkansas, they struggled and had to battle through that one. They're gonna have to battle in this one, but
Oh yeah.
overall, they played pretty well in bounce back games and games after a loss. So I think they'll play well.
Yeah, this will allow them to be 5-0 if they, I think the fire gets I know we emphasize on fire. The world's not falling apart, even though sometimes it feels like it. But the small fire that there is gets a little bit bigger if you lose this game. And it's not like going to be a bad loss. This is a good Tennessee team coming in here, but like if you can pick up this win, kind of puts that fire out a little bit more and gets people back on board and excited again. And this fan base is a wild one. We they definitely overreact on a lot of things, but like it's kind of hard not to when those things. You don't have a pro team to root for. We didn't get to watch. You got to watch an NFL team go in the playoffs. I've got to sit through 3 losses in 6 games. So my mental state is not the best on. But anyways, it's not about me. It's about this team getting things figured out and grinding out the bulk of this SEC schedule. And like you said just a minute ago, we got about a month until this SEC tournament comes. And for a while there, we thought this is the year Kentucky's going to own the SEC again, and they're struggling right now. Just a lot to figure out. I know we keep going in circles, but these next few handful of games are going to tell a lot. If you get some wins out of it, it'd be really impressive.
Still got Auburn, still got Bama, still got Tennessee twice. Good
Yeah.
opportunities to, play yourself back up into the, even the, 2-3 seed line, even, so a lot of ball left.
Yeah. Well, guys, Michael, thanks for hopping on here. Tim, you were definitely missed, but we got things rolling just fine. And, there wasn't a whole lot to talk about tonight. It feels like I can ramble a little bit more when we're coming off of wins and things are exciting. I feel like I retain all of that, but when we lose, it's just more frustration and mine doesn't think as well. So, thank you all for everyone who tuned in, and we'll catch you all probably after this Tennessee game this Saturday. Hopefully, Kentucky can sneak out a win. And